Hey guys, how you doing? So tonight, tell some stories, that's the plan, and then I'm going to show you some tips, tricks, hacks I'm doing right now to grow revenue. And yeah, and we'll do a Q&A at the end. Sound good? This is really special. I hope you guys know that. I've been in the Silicon Valley for 12 years now, and I haven't felt energy like I feel at the family. I haven't felt energy like this since I was invited to this. It was a blog launch party, which is not. It was basically I was going for free beer and pizza, but it was in Palo Alto, 2005, and went down with some friends from San Francisco, and on the front door it said no GYM with the arrow pointing to the side yard, and it meant no Google, Yahoo, Microsoft people inside the house. They had to go down the side yard. So I thought, oh, this is cool, right? So I walk in, and there's probably 15 stations set up. Entrepreneurs pitching. This is before incubators. This is before YC. This is before everything really. This is the second coming of the web, right? This is Web 2.0 just starting, and it had this vibe. It had this energy. It was incredible, and I feel that here. And in the backyard stood this guy behind a podium just like this, and there's a little screen on the front, and he asked me, like, name your favorite song. So I told him, and he typed it in the computer, and the computer comes back with 30 other songs just like the song that I like. So I thought, holy shit, what is this? And he called it the Music Genome Project. And if anybody familiar with this, this is Pandora, before it was called Pandora. It was a really special time. I met these two guys who had just quit PayPal, right? PayPal, they were literally working, Elon Musk, PayPal Mafia at the time. And I thought, what are you doing? Like, what could you possibly be working on that's so important that you want to leave PayPal, right? This is 2005. And 4 months later, they founded YouTube. So they knew what they're up. They knew what they're doing. But the guys I went down with, Naval and Nivi, they started AngelList. There was just the entire backyard. It was pizza and beer, but we had no idea what we were doing there. We just knew we were excited about what was happening. There was this energy. Something was coming. We didn't know what it was going to look like, and Silicon Valley is a lot different now than it was then. But here in Paris, there's something really special. Everyone in here is part of a community, and unfortunately, San Francisco's community is it's changed, right? It's no longer the bootstrappy startup type of community that I fell in love with. But you have it here, so embrace it. Like the people in this room, there's amazing startups that are sitting right here that are going to happen. And I can feel it. I'm excited. You should be too. And I just wanted to tell that story, and then we'll get started. So a few years back, this is 2 weeks before launch. We didn't have a company name. We had an idea. This is 2009, and I'm really jet lagged, by the way. So I'm fighting through this. So we had this concept that 2009, Twitter didn't have an advertising product yet. Facebook's advertising product wasn't in the feed yet. It was on the right rail. And we had these crazy, pages or people that had millions and millions of followers, but there was no ad product. And I know it sounds sleazy to say ad product to put into the feed. But we knew it didn't have to be sleazy. We thought, this is interesting. You have this massive amount of eyeballs and a messaging experience, or an intersection, call it. Like outside, that'd be a place where you want to put a billboard, right? It's like prime property to put a billboard. And so we said, okay, let's create this company and see if we can try and do social endorsements, celebrity endorsements, in a non-sleazy way. That was really the goal. And so 2 weeks before a conference, we decided, all right, let's write them a check. We'll do our launch here. We'll come up with a company name, build a product, and we forced ourselves to go through that sprint to build something, an MVP. We didn't know a single celebrity. We'd never talked to a celebrity. We didn't have friends that knew celebrities. But we had an idea that this might work. So we did it. And 2 days before the conference, we came up with our company name, which was called Adly at the time. There's a lot of TechCrunch articles about it now. But we launched, and 16 months later, we had some traction. So in the first year and a half, we signed 5,000 celebrities. Keep in mind, I had never spoken to one before. We had 5,000 on the platform. The largest one in Europe, who's actually not on here, is Cristiano Ronaldo. We sold 24,000 endorsements. We ended up selling 29,000 in our first 2 years. We probably had, 200 plus articles in mainstream media. And my job was sales, right? Like, I was the guy that went out there and pitched campaigns, brought in the brands, created the team, hired, staffed, trained, ran the creative teams, media teams, sales teams, and the celebrity relationship team to bring on new partners. And we looked at Facebook as a platform that we could growth hack because we didn't have to worry about their growth, which was nice. Twitter, obviously, and also celebrities. So if you're having a dinner, so to speak, you already have an amazing dinner party. Everyone's there. All you have to do is basically bring like the wine. That's really what we saw. We're just going to essentially bring one element to this table, but it's going to bring everything together like wine does. So the campaigns were awesome too. Jay-Z's campaign, we did his book. I think it was called Decode, and Microsoft had sponsored the launch, and we essentially ran the entire distribution of that campaign. Excuse me. We did 50 theatrical releases, which was a lot of fun. We do things like, for comedies, we'd put together like 50 comedians and would say, okay, here's the movie. How can we like build dialogue, build conversation in social media around this movie in a way that doesn't feel like an ad experience, doesn't sound like an ad, doesn't look like an ad, and it'll create conversation and engagement. So we do things like, is this funny haha or funny faux pas? You be the judge, and then drop a trailer to the movie, and then we'd have like multiple different messages go out from different celebrities. And it was a great product. Unfortunately, we got in trouble. I think I have a slide for that. Nope. Yeah, here it is. In growth hacking, essentially, someone else's platform. This is one of the things you got to be careful of. And this was Facebook. We were 6 months into the Facebook feed, or before Sponsored Stories was, which is, as you guys know, a multi-billion-dollar product. And we had just ran a campaign with Virgin America and Drake, and had got all this press because we were essentially using the feed where all the eyeballs were, all the attention was. And so it got us in trouble. It got us a cease and desist. It was just a tough time for the company. We had a lot of success, hired a lot of amazing people, and we are either going to make an exit, which was very realistic in the next 6 months, or we're going to do a very large Series B. And our Series A was about $6.5 million from Mark Suster and GRP Partners at the time, now called Upfront Ventures. So anyways, got in trouble, but this is just one company. Nice thing about startups is if you have an explosion, things go bad, you start your next one. So I started this company called Social Envy, and really at the time I had been selling social media for a couple years. I had access to the top brands, had developed a lot of expertise in terms of how to bring a story to market, how to, create conversations around a release, which was really valuable because not only do theatricals have a similar release life cycle, or they have it to automotive, and there's a lot of big budgets in automotive, and every other product, really. Every product has this life cycle, and so what had happened was I'd become an expert in the release, product, launch, release, whatever you want to call it. And so in my first 3 months of running Social Envy, starting it, no website, not a single line of code, no product, we did more revenue than Adley's first year in the first 3 months. Our first clients were Disney, Microsoft, ABC. We won Toyota, and it was because we had this domain area expertise out of a failure, basically. So the point here is, even if you have a huge success and then a huge failure, keep coming back, right? Because I think I hear people say, fail fast, and it's like, I kind of call that bullshit, The most important thing is to have the stamina to get to your next project, right? And so this company sold in month 5. We kicked off, I think in month 2, we made a $400,000 profit with only 4 people, 0 technology. The product we were building was probably, we'd have it around like the 8th, 9th month, maybe. That's, anyone building a product, you know how things typically ship. So it was probably like, at year 1, our product would finally deliver. But we actually were acquired in month 5, which was cool. So, and not a single article in the press. It was a fun one. Both of those companies were a fun ride. And it continues. So after Social Envy, I joined Fundable. Anybody know Fundable? They're a crowdfunding platform business. It's okay if you don't. Startups.co is the parent company. And at Fundable, we acquired Zirtual, Clarity, and LaunchRock. And it was just a kind of a rare moment in time where we could grow a business through acquisition channels, which was completely different from what I was doing prior, so it was just kind of exciting. And then I joined a later stage Kleiner Perkins company, and this was really fun because I got to join another startup that had been building a great product, and they just needed someone to go to market. And so we're at 0 revenue when I started, and joined an amazing team, very bright people. We did 8 figures in revenue in the first 6 months, which was awesome. And keep in mind, I'm about to show you about how we did all these things. And most recently, I joined CloudApp, which I have no intention to sell to anybody tonight. But I'm back to the start line again, which I love doing. So this is my background, and the one thing that I want you to take away from it is that sales is hard, but if I can do it, you can do it. And if you fail, that's fine. Like, the failure is what you want. Like, failure brings the skill set. I always think of it as there's a time to learn, and there's a time to earn. And sometimes after failure, you want to just take a job, right? Like, get your debt caught up, pay off your parents, do whatever you need to do to get kind of back on track before you take that risk in. So, with that said, let's talk about growing revenue. So, usually, when I start to look at an idea, or even talking with founders, and even myself, there's 2 people that you're going to be talking to. There's, people that get it, people that don't, right? And we almost always don't get it, all of us. And there's a lot of us in the room right now that we think we get it, but we actually don't. And there's this great exercise that I love to do, and this is from Google. It's a positioning statement, and I try and do this really early with the entire company, get everyone on board. I'll keep it up for a while, and I'll show you a Gmail example in a second, what they did in 2004. But if you can get through this with your founders, and can I get a show of hands? How many founders are in the room? Cool. If you can work through this with your founding team, it's really great to position early to get everyone on the same page. And no one is ever on the same page, right? Like, if founders here tonight, do this tomorrow, and watch what comes from it, and watch how long it takes you to do this, right? So Gmails, so you can read what Google did. And this is 2004 when they wrote this, and it really hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed here is the amount of storage, right? That's it. So this is, this is Gmail. This is the positioning for Gmail. And by the way, I have my email on the last slide. Anyone who wants a deck, I'll send it to you. So if you don't have a phone or anything, don't worry. I'll get you these slides. So once you position, that's usually when I say, let's start talking about what comes next, right? I think one of the biggest mistakes startups make, or founders, especially technical founders, are hiring salespeople before you have that positioning down, before you know which way you're going to go. I see a lot of, we call them sales guys that come in, or they're hired to essentially solve the problem, like to connect this piece of shit MVP product to customer needs. And that's not what you want sales guys for. They're expensive, or sales guys or gals. They're expensive. If you don't have positioning down, if you don't know what direction you're headed, like, it's terrible burn to bring on. So do the positioning, and then when you start to hire or look to hire for sales or growth, make sure you have a good idea where you're going. The other, I'd say, biggest mistake I see in hiring in sales is the guys that have done it before. Or they're coming from an academy, right? Like Salesforce or Microsoft or Oracle. They're used to carrying this $20 million, book of business, and they're comfortable with that. And you're a startup, like, oh yeah, $20 million, that sounds great. Problem is, they don't know how to go from 0 to 1, and that's what you need. So you need someone that, on paper, they might look like shit, actually, because you might see them job hopping, right? And what you want to make sure you essentially find or bring on is a guy like this. That's a terrible GIF. I just had to put it in here. What's happening? Someone produced this. I don't like long text, but I added some here at the bottom of the slide. It's from Mark Suster. And you want to hire someone that has the ability to think creatively, take vaguely defined problems, solve customer needs, and essentially start the process of what does this product look like to sell. And from the point of 0, when you're starting to book your first revenue, to 1 million. And 1 million is where I usually say, all right, let's get our VPs in. Let's get an office, a real office. Let's buy real beer, finally. And you can be looking at Series A. If you go from 0 to 1, that's the hardest to do. This is going to give someone a seizure, sorry. But when you're going from 0 to 1, you need to make sure that, and even if you have success, you want to bring on people in that 0 to 1 that are hungry, right? Someone wants to fight. This is cat awesome. You want to hire someone that's going to essentially pump or fight above their weight class, right? Someone that wants to progress their career, someone that has sales experience, but they want to become a director, or they want to become that VP. They want to earn that title or that position. So just like this little guy, you want to hire someone that's going to do the work, and they're going to prove themselves, because a lot of the academy guys or the big guns, if it doesn't work, they're out, right? Or maybe they're not going to spend the time to find out how to solve that problem. And when you do solve the problem, sometimes you haven't solved the problem, right? So you think, oh wow, I'm killing it, right? Like we got to 0 to 500,000 in, a couple months. This is great. What you'll find out is it changes, right? When you go 0 to 1, 1 to 2, or 2 to 5, especially on 3 to 4, there's a lot of plateaus, at least in my experiences. You have to keep this open mind, right? You have to realize that the things you do from 0 to 1 might not get you to 1.5, right? So keep an open mind, and obviously stay humble. You need to make sure that what you learn early is going to help you, essentially establish that process that you're going to scale it with. And the best thing that I can ever tell any founder is make sure you're in those meetings with customers. You should always be in customer meetings. Don't leave it to the sales guy to be having conversations with the people that are buying your product. All right, 3 things. These are the must-haves that I want to create in month 1. First one is I want a trophy, right? So previous trophies for Adley, we launched with NBC. We did it for free. We said, hey, we have this crazy idea. We have a few comedians. You have a comedy release. Like, can we try this? We think we can get someone to write about it. They said yes, right? Because we were able to land that, we ended up running 50 theatrical releases in the same segment. And I think we did 120 total in entertainment in our first 2 years. So our trophy for Adley was incredibly successful. And the next one we did was Michael Jackson, This Is It, out of Sony. And we just continued to go. So we did this free trophy, we got it, we said, okay, we can use your logo. And then the next one, the customer paid for it, which was awesome. For Social Envy, we worked with Disney and DreamWorks and did the Help movie, which is another great trophy. And I didn't discount that one. Actually, it was just a really small test campaign. I said, hey, can you give us like $5,000? Like we think we can optimize this potentially better than your agency is currently doing. And that actually won the Disney slate. It took a while, but we did another picture, bigger budget, another picture. And meanwhile, we were pitching everybody else with this beautiful trophy, right? A Disney trophy, which is, pretty much the top when it comes to entertainment. And so when you go after your trophies, and some of my trophies right now, like Slack is amazing for CloudApp. Missing here is Airbnb and Uber. I usually show those in client presentations to show how the top development and design teams are using my company. I'm pitching right now, by the way. Kidding. I'll give you all CloudApp for free at the end. But you want to get those trophies because when you're a startup and you're talking to someone that has never heard of you, you don't have a relationship, this came through a cold email, you need some sort of credibility, right? So the trophy, that's one way to get credibility. You have to get a trophy. The second one, this is more of a philosophy, is you want to show how your product works. Don't talk about it, right? I hate graphs. I think everyone hates graphs, and everyone usually calls bullshit on graphs. So one thing we're doing at CloudApp is we're creating this customer advocacy program where we're essentially doing what Nike does and making we want our users to be our heroes in a sense. So just like LeBron wears Nike. Well, maybe I should be using CloudApp because I see Andrew at said company. This is Outreach.io in Seattle. He's using CloudApp. He has the same job as me, and he has a really cool life because these guys have covered him. So in this example, we show Andrew's workflow, the things he does at work, and then we get into we call it his personal stack, right? The things he does on weekends, and his travel, and his favorite books, and things like that. But by creating content like this, you start to get away from like a sales pitch, and you're more of just, hey, here's how someone else is using our product, right? So we have a trophy, and then we're starting to create content on this show, don't tell model, right? It's showing customers how they can use our product. And then The last one is everyone has to do this very, very, very early so that when you send an email, it doesn't look like a sales email. It's going to have a much better response because there's ROI, right? There's some sort of ROI case or case study that you've created. And so you have this trophy, you have this, proof of concept or efficacy in this ROI that you've established, and then you are showing an example of how you use your product. This is what we've done for, I don't know how many millions and millions and millions of cold emails, and it works great. Also, never send a cold email with more than 3 sentences. And then if you're experienced, like if you're a sales or demand gen or business development, you shouldn't be sending more than 2 sentences in any cold email. There's no point. And on your decks and whatever you're producing, make sure it's fun. Use GIFs or GIFs, whatever you call them. And the last part is keep things simple. I'm oversimplifying this talk here intentionally, but when you're going from 0 to 1, you really have literally a handful of metrics that matter, right? So number of prospects created in a week, number of emails and calls sent, number of meetings created. We usually call those turnovers, where you've outreached a prospect and you've created some sort of event, which is creating pipeline and revenue growth, right? There's so many tools right now. You have Mixpanel, you have Salesforce, you have a million tools to track so many analytics. It's this data obsession, which I can't stand, because at the end of the day, you need to be making a lot of calls, you need to be talking to a lot of people, and you need to be setting up a lot of meetings, right? And ultimately, that's going to grow pipe. That's going to lead to revenue. And these 5 little metrics, you can power your entire sales team through your first 10 million in booked revenue, no problem, before you want to start thinking about making things complicated, right? Before you want to start bringing in the big guns, so to speak, to go from 10 to at 100 or whatever your next milestone is. And then L4M and B2B SaaS, if you are creating a B2B SaaS product, L4M is last 4 months or the last 4-month trailing average. This is what all VCs look for. So you want to be showing growth over the last 4 months always. That's what they're going to ask. And if you're close to 10% month-to-month growth, then you're prime for VC or Series A, right? How many people here are pre-Series A? How many people are pre-Series B? Or how many people have a Series A here? Okay. So we have a lot of seed. Good. This is a right deck, right audience. I'm glad. It's not easy, right? This guy sent me this message on September 30th and then again on October 1st, right? People are going to tell you to fuck you, right? You're knocking on doors. It's the nature of the business. I know culturally, Americans are known for being great salespeople because they have no shame. They're sleazy, like all salespeople are. All you have to do, and it's all true, just change your title to marketing like I do, and then you're not a sales guy. You're a marketer. But when you knock on doors or you send emails, whatever you do to sell your product, people are going to tell you to fuck off, and embrace those things. We usually ring a bell. At Adley, we had this saying, we called it Shazam, when everyone got a signed order. So you'd yell out, Shazam, which is kind of stupid. But whenever someone told you to fuck off, you'd yell that out too, because you need to keep things fun. It's really hard to be a sales guy. People can easily hate you. It's easy to, we don't like being sold unless you have a problem. Like if I don't have a jacket and I walk outside right now and someone's selling an amazing Canada Goose jacket, like half off, like that's not a sales experience, right? And so I don't look at myself as a sales guy. I look at myself as more of a problem solver. And is the sound okay? Okay. I lost my train of thought. But going back to, let's go back a little bit. I missed something. So, that was a cool campaign we did. So this is for Top Gear. This was back in the Adley days. Just to give you an example, I didn't show you any examples of campaigns. We were tasked to create a conversation in social media for Top Gear as they were rolling into the United States. And they said, hey, we have this amazing demographic. It's mainly men that love our show. How do we appeal to cross-gender in the United States? So we said, okay, we have an idea. Everyone's a car fanatic, like for one day, right? That's when you get your first car, right? So what we did was we reached out to Mark Cuban, the Kardashians, a bunch of celebrities, and asked, what was your first car? They told us. We put together these messages. Mark's was, I always had a need for speed, but my 1966 blue Buick LeSabre would get me there, ... eventually, right? So this was, some of the things we're doing. This thing crushed 15,000 responses on Twitter, led to the Top Gear, the highest rated show in Top Gear history. And it didn't really feel like a sleazy ad experience, and it was more of, we solved the problem for Top Gear, and we did it in a way that was fun, it was creative, and no one was doing anything like this. And even though Adley, for all intensive purposes, you might consider it a failure, we assembled a really good team. Excuse me. Sean, my partner in Adley, he went on to found Tinder, so he's the Tinder founder. Arnie, our CEO that we hired, went to Polyvore, which just sold to Yahoo recently. He's now a C-level, CRO for Yahoo. The companies that you create, the people you meet, it's important to embrace the relationships you're going to build. Like even in this room, like when you guys were just talking to each other, I was thinking how many startups are being pitched right now? How awesome does that sound? And the point I want to make here is that this is a community, and you have to embrace the community that you're part of, because there's amazing, talented people sitting right next to you in this room. And the way I found the talent for my teams is by talking to the people around me in my community. All right, so let's do some growth hacking. Get in there. Sorry, lots of slides. All right, not easy. We saw that one. This is the most important slide in this deck. Whenever I ask someone, like, what problem are you solving? People tell me, oh, I'm building this, the most effective, SaaS tool ever to do who knows what for $9.99 a month, like every other product, right? But 2 years in, and all the problems that you guys are thinking about right now, 2 years in, the problem you're actually solving is not a business problem. It's why you decided to become an entrepreneur in the first place, right? So I have some pictures here. These are me as a child. The one on the top left is my wife, who's here. She's back there with the scarf on. She's shy. Raise your hand, babe. Somebody have a picture of me and my niece. I have 3 nephews. Startup is a grind. You're going to spend so much time, energy, effort, but you need to not lose focus on what's important, because even if you go failure, you have to know that what really is going to drive you to that success is not going to be, what we think of as success. It's not money. Well, some people it is money, but not for me. But it's the thing that led you, like, why were you so pissed off to quit your job? Why did you say, fuck it, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur, right? Make sure you write the reason why you're here down, and you revisit that often. Even if it's like putting a picture on your desk, or you need to do something to yourself or to remind yourself why you're doing this, right? Because it is a grind, and you're going to get tired of giving the same pitch. You're going to give hundreds of pitches, thousands of pitches, different people, investors, recruits, PR. Anytime you have to go through, a fundraising event, which is, I can't stand, right? Like, you're not solving that problem that is on that slide. There's something that's driving you, right? So I just want you to stay true to yourself and make sure that you remind yourself often why you're doing this. So I'm gonna do some, I'm gonna demo a few things. Well, I'll demo a tool, and then I'll show you some other tricks and hacks that have worked and that I'm using today. So who in here uses Clearbit? All right. So Clearbit is not a graph. I'm just showing you that I've made 63,000 requests all through API in the last 30 days. This is just a tool I use. I'm going to demo it real quick. So from a programmatic standpoint, whenever someone signs up for CloudApp, we run it through Clearbit. So we just send a request, ping Clearbit, figure out who they are, just using their email address. And the data is insane. It is absolutely incredible. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. Give me 1 second. All right, so now I'm doing this programmatically, so I don't see any of this happen in real time. I usually just see it in Salesforce, where it's like, okay, someone signed up, and from the Clearbit data, this has now become a lead because of certain proxies or indicators that they should be a lead. So I'm going to show you the Clearbit data. So these are email addresses, just random email addresses, and I'm using it's an add-on for Google. It's called Clearbit Sheets. I don't use this tool often. I'm doing it programmatically, but they have this enrichment tool, which is essentially how you access the Clearbit database. So and it's going to take some time. It's going to fill out some pretty amazing stuff here. So based on an email, I'm going to get all this data about these people. And there's, I think, 500 rows. This is just an example. You saw that I'm making thousands and thousands of requests per month. This data, I don't know if you guys can see it well. I'll zoom in. Oops. Annoying. My apologies. All right, so I won't zoom in. Can you guys see it okay? I can tell you what's here. So first name, last name, great. Location, awesome. Latitude, longitude, not necessary. Not going to put that in Salesforce. Personal bio, interesting. Let's keep going. And there's a lot of rows of data here, as you can see. So I'm going to go back to around here. This is where it starts getting interesting. So S and T. All right, so I could tell they're executive, they're a manager. So this now, my segments are automatically populating in Salesforce right now, the second they sign up, so that my SDRs, or maybe it's a salesperson that's going to need to call them tomorrow. We're doing it from a programmatic way, which is nice. I can see really awesome stuff like their GitHub ID, how many followers they have on GitHub. GitHub's incredible, right? Okay, this is a tech influencer, right? We know how to message that segment accordingly. We can see their personal Twitter information, their handle, their followers, keeps going, their LinkedIn. Sometimes we'll set up programmatic stuff, so we just immediately send a follow if they meet a certain requirement. I'll show you some more. I mean, there's so much here. My favorite one is this one. It's employees, right? So immediately we want to qualify. Is this someone we should even call or email, talk to, right? So employee size for us is, we want to set a minimum of, maybe it's 20. For your company, maybe you're looking for Fortune 500, right? Maybe it's Fortune 10. Clearbit's a great tool. Also, Amit, the founder, is a good friend, and he's going to give anybody 20% off. And I will facilitate that connection, I promise. So who uses Trello? Better, yes. Trello is awesome, it's free. I'm visual. I can't stand Asana. Every time I look at Asana, I just get overwhelmed. This wall of things that I have to do. I like Trello because it's visual. I like throwing GIFs in it, images, things like that, moving things from, sequentially through a process. This example would be a content marketing or content production process where we're writing content, we're editing, we're publishing, we're promoting. Use Trello, it's incredible. It's free. unless you want to add a background photo, I think you got to pay for it. Excuse me. All right. Name to email, who uses that? It's Chrome extension, it's also free. By the way, I don't know these guys. I just love simple hacks. So name to email plus reportive. Who uses reportive? Okay, awesome. So whenever you're going to write an email where you read about someone that like you want to reach out to, but you have no idea how to find their email, all you do is you type in the name. So this is Neil at Google. There's an article I read that mentioned him. If I put Neil Cardwell in here, it'll also pull up the same. It'll give you all of the email nomenclature, and all you have to do is hover over the emails that it gives you, and if the face pops, that's from reportive, that means that's a real email, right? So from this isn't necessarily something I'm gonna do at scale, but when I wanna quickly reach out to someone, like anyone, if any of you were in an article tomorrow and I wanted to message you real quickly, I'd say, okay, here's first name, last name, and then your domain, and I'm gonna have your email. It's a pretty awesome tool. And from an automation perspective, email automation, I use Outreach. That's my go-to tool. It's for seed stage, it's expensive. I think it's around $10,000 per year, and you pay it up front. So for seed, it might be a little much. But there's Yesware, Mixmax, PersistIQ, SendBloom. There's a lot of automator tools. And the reason why I have the Gmail logo up here is because I never let anyone do automation, like contact automation, until you have success doing it without it, right? Because if you can't write an email that gets a response using Gmail, you're just going to kill some great prospects and opportunities with the automation tool. Happens every day. Someone sends me a wall of text, and I write back, fuck you, right? Kidding. Totally joking. They do that to me. But this is my favorite automation tool. And then who uses Pitchbox? All right, Pitchbox, I have 4 friends that have built $10 million in revenue companies in their first 2 years off this alone. It costs, I think, $200 a month, and it gets you, it's a CRM for email, basically, but it has this database of bloggers, which is my favorite part, and journalists. The bloggers, or you can search like contextually, so you can figure out who's written what in the last year, and you can reach out to that blogger and set up sequences to reach out to your list of bloggers. And so an example of a company, a CDN company, that has basically created, I think they're at like $17 million run rate right now. They look for technical bloggers, reach out to them, say, hey, I saw you wrote this. Maybe you'd be interested in the technology we're doing. We'll host your blog for free, and we'll give you, 3 licenses to give away to your audience since you have such an amazing blog, right? That play, they've absolutely crushed it in SEO, in domain authority, page authority, and growth, just on that one play alone. Check out Pitchbox. And I don't know them at all. I don't have equity in any of these companies. These are just things that I love, that are working, and they could work for you. And lastly, my company is CloudApp. I'm not here to pitch you CloudApp. I will give you a $250 license to use CloudApp for free for the next year. I can send you an email on how to use it, and the deck if you send me an email. And here's my email here. But I'd love to hear about what you guys are working on, what you're doing. I love what's happening here. I love, standing under palm trees and talking about startups in a greenhouse and growing revenue. And reach out. And if you want to use CloudApp, I will hook you up.
Hi, great presentation. When you talk about outreach as automation process, it's not marketing automation such as HubSpot,
Sure.
etc.
Yeah.
Are you in charge of this kind, or are you putting in place marketing automation? And when is the right time to do it?
Yeah, you do it early. I would not even talk about HubSpot or Marketo before you're at like 5 million in revenue, because it's expensive. Customer.io is what I use. It has a lot of, I I send emails based on events. So if someone signs up, downloads our application, starts using it, depending on how they use or don't use, it's going to change the sequencing. That's, I think that's way more powerful than just having like, content or like email sending. It's more like, hey, so you signed up and you did these 3 actions, but you didn't do these 2, right? Did you know that Uber and Airbnb are using these 2 exclusively, right? So you're dropping those trophies and those ROI examples and the show versus tell in a very contextual way that's based on behavior, right? Where I don't think Marketo and HubSpot are there yet. Customer IO is, which is absolutely incredible tool. I should have put that in here.
Yeah, thanks, Derek, for the presentation. Have you used specific tools to piggyback on LinkedIn in terms of automation, scrapping, or automating requests for connection?
Yeah, I have. I don't know if they're legal to where I should be talking about them. I haven't done any, macros, any automation scraping for a while. LinkedIn's great. What I usually do is I use LinkedIn as another proxy for the title that they say on LinkedIn and the company they work for, but I never trust the email on LinkedIn. Like, for instance, who in this room has their non-business email connected to their LinkedIn account? And that's why, right? So, Email Hunter, are they in this room? They are? No? Okay. I like it. I don't, if I pulled up LinkedIn right now, I'm sure Email Hunter would pop up the orange button, like to find the email address, but that's not the email address I want, right? So I use LinkedIn purely for name, title, company, not looking for email. That helps. But I don't have any tools right now that I'm using to do that. There are great SDR prospectors that I use, that I like, contractors. Upwork is a great place to find them, and you can hire in different economies where it makes a lot of sense to have, it's basically an unskilled type of worker go through and find the people that you're looking for. It also creates jobs in places where jobs need to be created, which is important. Sorry if I didn't answer your question.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I just have a question. If you want to contact someone for the first time, would you use rather an email or contact them by phone? What's the most efficient way to contact for the first time a person?
It really depends on your product. I love picking up the phone because no one does anymore. But for the Kleiner Perkins example, I was only reaching out to C-suite executives at Fortune 100s that had a appetite to spend more than $20 million a year on security, on a new security product, and those aren't the people you ever want to call. We tried it too. that was a failure. But it really depends on the product. I love products that you can dial and talk to people. I was in Berlin last night at a similar event to this, and I learned that, I forgot the company, Zenly, who could be here. The CEO has talked to 5,000 customers in the last year. That's incredible. So this probably should have been in the deck too, but talk to your customers as often as possible. And even if you're cold prospecting, people don't pick up the phone anymore, so I would absolutely try it. Anything that's different from all the stuff that that you read online, like Growth Hacking 101, you need to send your emails at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Bullshit. Like, that's when everyone sends their emails, Like, the most emails I send are on holidays because you get the out-of-office responder and they kick back all the emails that you actually want to learn who's in the organization that might be a decision maker. Hey, I'm out for a holiday, today. Here's my boss if anything's important. Thank you. Don't have to email you anymore. Try calling. There's a lot of great callers too. I showed Outreach.io, which I love. SalesLoft is another one. They have a great dialer. I think Outreach has a dialer too, where it just automates your dialing. So you sit there and it just calls for you. So you do it from your cell phone and you just keep your earpiece in and you just talk to prospect after prospect after prospect. And just like sending an email, be friendly. Don't sound like a sleazy sales guy. Be brief. Try and get really quickly to the point, and see if they have a moment to talk, or if you can set up a time to talk, and try and not pitch at all. Don't make it about you. Start asking questions as early as possible.
Thank you for coming. As the
My
founder
pleasure.
of Adly, for conquering a niche nowadays, would you advise to go for celebrities or for specialized YouTube channels and big blogs?
If you're going to create an influencer product right now, I mean, I would, if I were to do it again, I think about it all the time, by the way. It's really tempting. You want to go to wherever has the most volume or the most scale, with the least path of resistance, to actually creating a product. I think YouTube's interesting, but YouTube content is hard to create, right? Whenever you have to turn on a camera, or open Adobe Premiere, bring in a sound guy or gal, that's a pain in the ass, right? So the path of least resistance that I'd look for is, where can I create something, if I was going to do Adly again, there's a ton of eyeballs, and it's really easy to send a message, right? So probably Snapchat, Instagram, those places, before I go to a platform like video, just because just the production load would absolutely affect my scale. Not to say that there isn't a great business to build there, and there's probably great businesses that are built there that I just don't know about. I know a few of them, but I don't know if that answers your question either.
Thank you for the presentation. A quick question.
Yeah.
How do you sell a product that you haven't yet built? I guess you need to rely on reputation. Yeah. What if you don't have any? And what kind of customers will buy that kind of,
Yeah, it's my favorite product to sell.
Yeah.
I swear. It was the one that doesn't exist. And it always pisses off the product guys. Because I'm like, hey, I made $300,000 in my first month, and we haven't even started thinking about our product. So you can actually sell to $1 million with no product. I've done it, seen it. It's happening all around us. I've seen one of my friends, he's not a friend, he's an acquaintance. He exited $586 million exit. His product was non-existent. I swear, it still blows my mind to this day. So, as a founder, as essentially a problem solver, you're creating something for the future, because all MVP products suck, right? All of them do, right? Every single one of them sucks. That's not why people buy a product, right? They're buying you. They're buying this vision. They're saying, oh, yes, I understand that this is your MVP you just launched, but I love where you're going, because this is a problem that I have right now. For instance, my problem that I have right now is, and I'm going to actually bash somebody, so I'm going to apologize to Joe ahead of time. Sorry, Joe. I can't stand the amount of SaaS tools that I have to use to run a startup right now. I have 30 tools that I'm using, and they all do a specific thing that I have to have, but it's such a pain in the ass, right? So there's a company, actually I'm not going to mention their name, but there's a company that recently launched, and they're trying to consolidate all these SaaS, marketing applications, so I don't have to have HubSpot and a CRM or Salesforce, and then I have to have another email sender for my newsletters, and I have 8 marketing tools that I use right now, and analytics tools on top of those things, and then retargeting and connect to Facebook, all this stuff. So this company is saying, hey, we're going to solve that. You're going to do it in one place. We're going to have all the levers, all the APIs. Just come to us. We're going to solve that. And Joe has built a really successful marketing company that has had an IPO recently. I think he's the guy to do it. And the reason why I signed up for him before he has a product is because I know that he is the guy to solve my problem, right? And so most SaaS B2B buyers are going to buy the product before it's actually solving their problem, because they're buying you and they're buying in the long term. When we sell SaaS B2B, we're usually looking at a 2 to 5 year relationship, that we expect to have and they expect to have with us. And so it's really important to be honest, to be truthful, to say, hey, this might not be the exact product you want right now, but here are the things that we're doing. Here's the milestones. Here's what it's going to look like. And here's why you should buy us, right? And if you're nowhere close to product and you're trying to sell something to raise capital, then do pre-sales. And don't think of money as the only thing you're selling, because the advice, the relationship, is the most important thing that you can get from that relationship, or I'm sorry, from that person. If you can say, hey, we actually don't want you to pay us right now. We'll give you this grandfathered price at launch. But if you can participate in these 4 things, if you can give us feedback as we go through like this iterative process, and if we maybe could use your logo or a quote on our launch so people, don't call bullshit when we, send our first, cold emails. That type of pre-sale is so powerful, because you could launch, with 10 amazing trophies, right? That build credibility. They go after that trust continuum that you have to establish, so people think that, why should I give these guys money? Even though they've never used your product and you don't even have a product, right? So that's at least how I do it. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, could you share one of your best and or one of your biggest sales?
Sure. $12 million to a company based out of Seattle. Has a lot of colors in the logo. To launch it was a big product launch, basically. There's a lot of variables there. I don't know if that's the biggest, actually. All right. We'll use that example. So someone brought me into the deal, because the company that had pitched the deal was like, hey, I don't think we can deliver this. So they partnered with me, and they brought me in. So this goes back to community, people sitting next to you. They said, Derek, we have this great opportunity. There's this really big product launch coming out. A lot of moving parts. A lot of Facebook spend, Twitter spend, digital spend, retargeting, mobile, you name it. It's married to a television ad campaign that's much bigger. Can't fuck this up. And we're going to burn like 1 billion impressions in 48 hours. So we're going to run this $12 million in 48 hours. And they said, we can't do it, can you? And I said, yes, right? And we did. And we still had to pitch it. We still had to show how we're going to do it. We still had to show that we had the product to deliver. And ultimately, though, it was an incredibly successful campaign. And now, from that campaign, I got the right to use their logo, to declare my trophy, show my ROI use case, and then, obviously give the show don't tell pitch to an automotive company. This is why I was thinking about if it was the biggest, that had the exact same type of launch for a Super Bowl campaign, and they needed the exact same type of partner. So we went in, pitched it, and then we brought in the partner that had brought us in Seattle to the deal to work on a different aspect of it, but it was about similar deal size. And they're only, I want to say, like 6 weeks apart. So it was a tremendous windfall for a contact that we didn't know, a relationship we didn't have, and it's because we're part of something greater than just company builders.
Hey, what is if you had to share with us an option to retrieve emails for free, or at least in a cheap way?
Yeah.
What would be for you the best option?
It's hard to say, because there's different enrichment fields. It depends what you're looking for. I mean, there's a lot of free tools out there. I even like this. You could start with and there's like 20 tools to try and do it for free. It's such a pain in the ass. I have to do it. I've done it. On the other end of the scale, like I just buy discover.org. Like if I had a Series A, it's I think $14,000 to buy a license on discover.org and has everything. So in the beginning though, you have to like enrich yourself. Like it just takes a lot of time. But one of the best things you can do as a founder is build your prospect list, right? So if it's a VC, or the 3 categories where I typically build prospect list are people that can buy my product, people that can buy my company, right? In terms of they can either give me capital, or maybe it's where my exit opportunity is going to come from, or people that can help my product grow. Like they have some sort of platform reach opportunity. So, and that could be a journalist, it could be a blogger, it could be a lot of people. So those are my 3 kind of core segments that I always have. And so depending on those segments, we'll change the tool that I'm going to use. And there's a lot of variables to answer this question. I'm trying to do my best. LinkedIn is great. Yeah, this is where you get close, you know. And I love that even LinkedIn on the cheap or the free version of it, you can look in the right rail and see like who they kind of work with, right? So you start to develop this, you get this idea of like org chart, right, without having to pay for it. And then you use something like Email Hunter or Name to Email to figure out like domain nomenclature and just run a simple script in a spreadsheet in Excel or Google Doc to populate those emails, and then you have your first prospect list. So short answer, it takes time, and it's really great time though from a founder perspective to do the prospecting yourself, because eventually you're going to train someone how to do it, and then they're going to train someone, and they're going to train somebody. But it's a really informative process to create your prospect list, and if you're not doing it, I would absolutely go through the process because you're going to learn a lot.
Hi, more personal question.
Yep.
Why did you join CloudApp and not launching a new business?
Yeah, I love it. I've used it since 2010. By the way, I did not put this guy in the crowd. He's asked me a question, or I can talk about my company. So it started, Max was a designer at Heroku who started it, and he just wanted to be able to screen capture to a short link, so it goes to your clipboard and you can paste it somewhere. This is 2010, this is before Slack. Well before Slack. Well before a lot of things. So it was incredible to like, if you're building a product and you aren't using CloudApp, you absolutely should be. It started with screenshots, then they added annotations, so it's like, hey, we have a broken CSS class and it's, fucking up my buy now button. Dev prod guys, can you fix this, right? So to capture something and communicate it visually, so I don't have to, create a ticket in Jira, or even try and type a ticket in Jira of the problem is such a pain in the ass, because you know that your technical folks are gonna, correct your grammar. Kidding. But CloudApp has changed, it's evolved, you can do GIFs, videos. There's just so much things you do from like a workflow optimization perspective. Trying not to pitch, it sounds pitchy, I'm sorry. But I just love the product, and it's always been this like, single adopter, land and expand organic model. And so when I met the founder, who's a good friend of mine, where he is now, I said, how are you selling this to enterprises? And they weren't. So it's like, I have some ideas. So I joined it just because I loved it, and I think that it has a tremendous future ahead of it.
Thank you very much.
Que la famille.